Hi, this is Jordan Moorhead, and this is the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today we have Andres Bustamante back on for the second time, one of the rare two-peats we've had here on the podcast.
Yes,
And he's going to tell us all about what he's seen in the market here today and how he's seen people be successful. But real quick, Andres, could you tell our listeners who haven't heard your past episode who you are and how you're involved with real estate investing in the Austin area?
of course. It all started when I needed to find a way to pay for college. Started doing real estate as a leasing agent. Then after college, I decided to pursue real estate even though I had other career opportunities. Real estate was kind of scary though, because it's not as stable once you're starting off. But I joined a team, learned a lot about mindset, bought several properties, and been in Austin ever since. I'm 26 now, and I started when I was 19 as a leasing agent.
Wow, that's awesome. And I know you own a few real estate investments in the Austin area too. Could you tell our listeners about that?
Yeah, of course. I have three houses in Austin. I bought them all as new builds. So essentially, when the market was going crazy about 2 years, 3 years ago,
Mm.
I was 23 and I needed to just be like, hey, if I'm a real estate agent and I'm recommending people to buy houses, why don't I have a house myself? So that was kind of the first realization. And then also realizing that housing was the largest expense. So instead of having to go crazy and bid against other people because there was like 10 to 15 bids every time. I'm also a real estate agent and
Mhm.
investor. I found out about new builds and I put a $1,000 deposit, locked the home's price, and moved in, lived in one room, rented out the others. So essentially, I was living for free. I had covered my living expenses. And now that house, the first house that I bought, is worth like 500,000. The market has adjusted. It's worth 500,000, so that's like 200,000 more than what I got it for. And I pulled something known as a home equity line of credit on that house. So essentially, I lend money to people and I get paid for it, which is insane. We can delve deeper into that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you started out with some house hacks here in Austin. So you've got some you bought at least one of them is just a pure rental, right?
Yes, the third one.
Okay. So you got two house hacks you've done here in Austin. You've got a
Third
rental.
house. And honestly, right now, to tell you the truth, I have a fourth house that I might close in a week that I'm legit debating if I should close it or not. It's a
Okay.
new build, KB Homes. Nowadays, with the market adjusting a ton, there's more opportunities. This builder, I locked the rate at 6.25, and I know that builders are doing rate buy downs and they're offering like maybe 15K in closing costs, maybe even more. This
Mhm.
builder only covered title policy and they're sticking to that. So I'm like, look, dude, I customized the house. Yes, that's great. But if I'm not going to be living in this house for more than 2 years, is it worth it or not? So
Mhm.
I might go off contract. That's one thing I've been debating this week.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know with those new build properties that a lot, like you said, a lot of them are giving just so many incentives.
Oh
There's
yeah.
kind of two markets right now. There's the resale market, like, hey, this house has been lived in already, and then there's the new build market, and they're completely different. And I know you know this better than I do because you guys do a lot more new builds than we do. But there's just so they could not be more different. The resale market is still fairly competitive. Things are still going under contract pretty quickly, sometimes multiple offers. I just bid on one 3 days ago that had multiple offers and I lost.
Me
But
too
then,
today. Yesterday.
oh, really?
Yeah, two offers.
Yeah. People think people are struggling to sell homes. They're not. I'm putting offers out. We are the day before Thanksgiving. We're recording this 2022. It's all doom and gloom in the headlines, but as real estate agents, we're seeing a different thing here on the ground, but not with new build properties where they're doing a lot to sell those properties because they have a lot more inventory than the resale market.
Oh, for sure. And it's pretty insane because new builds, like we were talking, they give closing cost. A lot of people stick with, oh, the rate's too high. Well, did you know that you can get a rate buy down? You buy
Mhm.
discount points. A point is usually 1% of the purchase price, and that's about you can reduce your interest rate by 0.25.
Mhm.
Might get a little complicated for people that are listening, but you can do that. Then there's a you can do an arm. adjustable rate mortgage. There's a lot of ways to go about the interest rate. Now, the big thing here is, would you rather bid, or you might potentially have to pay a slightly higher interest rate, monthly payment. So it's just a difference. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, I don't want to have to bid. Well, now you don't have to bid. So
Hmm.
kind of what are people waiting for? It's funny. It's very different, but it all
Yeah.
depends on the goals that you have in real estate.
Yeah, and I know, you talked about an arm. I know I talked to our lender friend David here recently, and he talked about they have a way with an FHA arm where you can get the rate down to 3.99. That's what you were getting a year ago. So
Insane.
still great ways to get great rates right now. So Andres, I know you're helping people invest a lot in Austin, and it's clearly you're still investing in Austin. Why are you investing in the Austin area?
The Austin area, I really see a lot of potential for that appreciation. And
Mhm.
also now there's an opportunity that beforehand we hadn't seen. What I mean by that is the resale market. I only used to look at new builds, and now with the resale market opening up more, and there not being like 15 bids and having to go like 15%, even 30% over ask, which I did on several occasions with clients. There's an opportunity with resale homes, you get to choose the closer location. With new builds, it's more so path of progress. That's
Mhm.
not bad because your home I appreciate faster. But still, some people want to resell that's closer. It's maybe downtown, or have the option to choose the neighborhood to not be an up and coming. So I myself, yes, I will still invest in Austin, just that my criteria is now more kind of specific. Beforehand, there'd be a buffer because there's a lot of appreciation that we are seeing like week in, week out.
Mhm.
Still invest in Austin, but it's kind of like now has to be very, very specific properties. I always tell people, it's like, or ask any client, it's like, what is your goal with buying real estate and what are your expectations? And from there, I can see if it's legitimate or not.
Mhm.
Because in this is Austin market, it's changing a lot. And now
Oh,
prices have adjusted in the past 2 years, like by a ton.
oh yeah, definitely. And I think, you mentioned the path of progress where I just helped a client buy a new build property in Kyle. A few years ago, Kyle was nowheresville. There was nothing
Yeah, it's like,
there.
what is Kyle?
Yeah. Now Costco's about to open up there. There's tons of commercial development going on in the
Crazy.
area. Everything you want is going to be just down the street. So what was out in the boonies 2 years ago now has a lot around it, but now the prices are starting to go up. You can still get a new build 3 bedroom, 2 bath home in Kyle for 300,000. And like you said, they'll buy down your rate, they'll make it affordable. They will sell to investors. They're getting a lot more cooperative when selling these new build properties. But I think you mentioned it well there, where you said you really got to figure out what you want and then figure out where you want to be with investing, or if you're trying to buy a home, and that
Yeah.
determines
And
what you're going to do.
it's also realizing it's like, look, who would you rather pay rent to, yourself or someone else? Because essentially you're building up equity. And
Mhm.
once you build equity, you have options. You can do a HELOC. You could potentially even Airbnb. You can rent out the room. So what's the worst case scenario? Oh, I'm paying 500 out of my pocket. Bet you're building equity.
Mhm.
Bet once you move out, you might even get cash flow because you rent out all the rooms. So you have to see it by not just one way of, oh, okay, I'm going to be paying this mortgage, but what other ways can you cover it and what's the worst case? One thing also that I love with new builds is that a home's value is based on the sales comparison approach. So what other homes in the vicinity sell for that are very similar. So new builds, potentially you get in the first phases of the construction. Usually new builds are built in phases. Phase one, they build 100 house. Phase two, they might build 100 as well. Three, four, five. If you get in on phase two and they're building the same floor plan through phase three, four, and five, imagine what your same floor plan will be selling in phase four and then phase
Mhm.
five. So that's how a lot of my clients have gotten appreciation because the same home will be selling and usually for a higher price. That's another benefit that I've seen with new builds that a lot of people like.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the other things people like about new builds is no maintenance and capital expense for quite a
Yeah,
while.
the warranties, there's also
Yeah.
warranties. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, there's tons of ways to invest. There's resale, there's new builds, there's all those different types of assets. but knowing what you're looking for is important to figuring out what you're going to invest in. And Andres, I know we talked about this a little bit in our first episode, but you started leasing in college. So you had a lot of experience with real estate before you got out of college. And then you got out of college and started selling real estate. A few years after that, you started to invest. Other than saying, hey, I'm selling this, I might as well buy some. What other reasons attracted you to real estate investing?
It was kind of like the commonality of the highly successful people. What do they do? And I was seeing a lot of them were real estate investors. Then
Mm,
also, really, if I'm an agent, I have to help. I have to be doing what I say I'm doing. So it was that, and then also my mentors. I mean, all of my mentors, Diego Corzo, Victor Nino, they all had properties and they're highly successful. So I was like, there's a reason it has to be correlated.
yeah.
And I mean, I saw all the benefits of real estate. I mean, in a market like Austin, being able to put as low as 3% down, the return on investment that I've had for that first house and the second and the third has been absurd. Like the first house, I get 1,000 in cash flow.
Wow.
So that pays for my car.
Mm,
Second house, I'm living for free and getting 300 in cash flow. Third house, it's a rental property. I'm getting about 500 in cash flow, and I'm gonna adjust the rents because the rents have gone up. So I mean, there's just so many benefits. And then I saw, oh, you can natural appreciation, great. Then forced appreciation, even better. If you
mm.
add something to the house, the potential to go up is very high. Obviously, you have to be smart about it. But there was just so many ways and things that I were seeing that were common threshold for a lot of millionaires and people that are highly successful that I said I need to invest in real estate. What's the worst case that it can happen? I don't like it. Okay, maybe I don't do it. I'm young and I can still do these things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I've reaped the benefits for sure.
Yeah. You're in a great place and you're with a great team too. I know Victor and Diego both showed the benefits of real estate investing early on, but like
Oh
you
yeah,
talk about, you have control. Worst case scenario, it's not for you. You said earlier you have to live somewhere. You might as well be paying yourself rent. So let's say you buy the first house, start house hacking it. 2 years in, you say, hey, this isn't for me. I don't want to be a landlord. You have them move out, and then you've got a house that you didn't pay a lot
exactly,
for. So
exactly.
there's
And the
really
trends
not a
show
lot of
that the
ways.
market in Austin is probably going to continue going up. It has been adjusting a bit, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Just that in a market like where Tesla, Facebook, Google, Oracle HQ came. I mean, what do you think is going to happen when tech companies like that come to here?
Yeah,
And the amount of people that are coming as well. It's just absurd.
lots of development here, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, you talked a little bit about you took a HELOC out and you're loaning money out. Can you tell us about that?
For sure. HELOC is a home equity line of credit.
Mhm.
Essentially, equity is what you've already paid down of the house plus any natural appreciation. So for me, my mortgage on the first house is about 200,000 and it's my house is worth 500,000. The
Oh,
equity I have is 300. Yeah, it's insane, right? The equity I have is 300,000. I put 10% down on that first house and I think it was 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
you put 10% down on your first house?
Yeah, because I had sold like $1 million property when I was 22 and I saved the money and I said 10% my numbers work, so let's do it.
Nice.
And I was like, hey, that's perfect. So yeah, I know, right? Like the first house, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then the HELOC, a lender, typically they lend 80% of the equity. So I didn't decide to go for like the max. I got like 180K. That's still a ton, or 150K.
Yeah.
I pulled 150K. And the big thing about the HELOC, it's not like a refinance. With a HELOC, you only pay on what you use.
Hmm.
So I have friends, actually like Nico Salazar. He
Hmm.
was on your podcast recently.
Yeah.
He needed like 60K. So I lent Nico 60K and I think I charged like 2 or 3 points. I forgot what it was. But 2 points is 2% of the purchase price. That's due right away.
Hmm.
And then I think the interest rate was like 8% or 10%. I don't even know. So essentially, Nico would pay me 10% interest rate over a year for 6 months. And he would pay me everything back that he got. So 60K plus the 2% plus the interest rate. So let's say I got like, just to make it simple, let's say I got 5K.
Mm-hmm.
And that's without doing anything, just lending money from one of my first houses. So just pretty insane that I'm making cash flow plus lending money with my first house. Dude, it's like natural appreciation. My house appreciated by that much, pulled out a HELOC, and now I lend money to people.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
we borrow a lot of money from private lenders like you know, so a private lender, everybody thinks it's some sophisticated or special individual. It's somebody like Andres is a private lender
Hey, I'm a bit
for
special.
for Nico. Yeah, you know, private lender, but you pay him 2 points and 10% interest on the loan. You know, maybe he adjusts that up if his interest rate goes up, so maybe you're paying him 3 points and 12% interest. But you don't do anything, Andres. Just make sure you're a credit worthy individual and you're going to pay him back. And it doesn't take you through the whole rigmarole like a normal lender would. And he
It's
makes
so
good money
simple.
and you make good money.
Yeah, just pull up a promissory note on Rocket Lawyer, and that's that. It's so easy. Oh my gosh, it was the easiest. It legit took me like an hour at most,
Mhm.
the whole process. And every month, Nico would pay me. And then at the end of the 6 months, I'd get everything back,
Mhm.
plus obviously whatever else I made.
Yeah. And
It's incredible.
definitely, guys, if you're thinking about being a private lender, make sure you know who you're. Obviously, Andres knows
Yeah,
Nico very well. He knows the projects he's doing. He knows everything about it. So it's a pretty sure bet. But when you're a private lender, you don't want to lend somebody money and not have a good guarantee that you're going to get the return you promised, plus, of course, your money back.
exactly. We get a promissory note all the time. Rocket Lawyer is pretty great and simple.
Mhm. So, do you have a first or second lien, or is it just a promissory note?
Just a promissory note.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's all sorts of ways to do this. You know, talk to attorneys. You can get a first lien, meaning you're the only mortgage on the property, and you come in line first. You can get a second lien, meaning you're second on the property, and then in conjunction with that, you can get a promissory note. But make sure you're talking to an attorney. I'm not one. I'm pretty sure you're not, Andres.
Yeah,
Um,
no, so
Definitely do
don't
your
know.
due diligence, talk to the right people, but it can be a really great way to make money, like Andres said, with doing nothing at all. You know, just making the first loan and collecting the checks.
Oh yeah, just how I like it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Me too. Andres, you, I'm gonna lean on you a little bit here, and I'm gonna learn something while we're doing this podcast. Can you give our listeners some advice on how to get the best deal when looking at a new construction property?
Oh, this is a good one. Definitely have a great agent that has experience,
Mhm.
because an agent that has experience will know the sales reps. The sales reps are essentially the kind of the selling agent. So they
Mhm.
help the builders. And if they know you well, they might give you some leeway as to, hey, you know what? We're getting a house back on the market. We want to sell it fast. So we're going to give these incentives. If you have clients, let me know. And
Mhm.
sometimes maybe they're wanting a 3% deposit. And if you don't know the market well, 3% deposit nowadays, that's not that common, because nowadays it's turning more into a buyer's market. So
Mhm.
you're like, hey, you know what? I do want it. Just at 3%, it doesn't work. Let me know how we can make 1% deposit work. So it's really knowing the market very well and knowing what builders you're dealing with. For example, KB Homes, they hardly ever negotiate anything.
Mhm.
For one of my clients, Meritage Homes, I know that my client was like, hey, you know what? This price doesn't make that much sense nowadays. And I told him it doesn't make sense. You're right. Let's send the builder comps to see why our price should be supported at a lower price. We sent them comps. And as for closing costs, they adjusted our price by about 30,000 and gave us like 10,000 more in closing costs while under contract. Because
Wow.
now us as buyers have more leverage. Dude, I've done that with like right now I have like 14 homes under contract for clients, and of those 14, like 12 are new builds. Those 12, I've had like 8 of them adjust the price or give us more closing costs.
Hmm.
So while under contract, because before, unfortunately, builders, dude, they could be
Yeah.
like, hey, we're going to close in a week and we have to. And it's like, dude, come on. Now us buyers have more leverage.
Hmm.
So it's really knowing your agent that you're working with and knowing that in an adjusting market, builders want to sell. They don't want to put it back on the market. So you can potentially get more than what
Hmm.
you're under contract for.
Love it. And I think, a lot of what you just mentioned there can be boiled down to something really simple is you have to ask. And I think so many people are afraid to
Exactly.
ask because they say, well, that doesn't happen. And Andres is telling you, yeah, it does happen. And I've just had it happen with 8 people. So I had a client, I was mentioning the Kyle property we just closed. We just closed this property for a buyer. He went under contract and got past all of his contingencies months ago. But we went back to the builder and said, hey, we found XYZ wrong with this place still. We're seeing properties sell for less. We need a price adjustment. We got a massive price adjustment on this property. And all we had to do was ask. So, you know
Yeah.
what they wouldn't have given us without asking was that price adjustment. They wouldn't have come to us and said, hey guys, here's a 50 grand off this property. But when you go ask and you provide, like Andres said, you provide a good argument for why you should have this adjustment, a lot of the times you're going to at least get something, and it's always
Oh,
worth
yeah.
asking.
And it can be like, hey, you know what? Instead of a price adjustment, a washer, dryer, or a fridge,
Hmm.
some appliances. So it's all about being savvy with how you ask and how
Hmm.
you present it.
Yeah.
The comps show something different. So let me know what we can do to make this work.
I
You
really
know?
like how you say that there too, because it's always about how can we both win rather than how can I win and I'm going to make you feel bad about the whole thing.
Oh,
That's
yeah, no.
not a good
Definitely.
strategy.
Yeah, I mean, be friends with sales reps. Dude, the sales reps are honestly my friends.
Hmm.
And they send me so many like off market new builds. It's pretty funny.
Hmm.
And they're really cool people. I mean, dude, at the end of the day, they're people, you know? Why are you going to
Exactly.
be mean to someone?
Yeah, it's what is it? You attract more honeys with, or sorry, more bees with honey than vinegar, and
Hey, look at that one.
you got to be
I
nice to
like
people.
it.
Love it. Andres, when somebody's coming to you and saying, "Hey, Andres, I want to buy a newer house in Austin," what are you telling this person? If they say, "I want to buy a 2015 or newer," what's your advice?
Firstly, I say, why is that important to you? What's important about buying a house? Because I really want to delve deep into the mindset and what they are thinking and if that's realistic or not.
Hmm.
Then after getting into that, it's really like, look, path of progress that I've seen most appreciation east of I-35. So that's where a lot of my clients have bought east of I-35 because that's where prices still have a ton of potential to go up even more. And
Hmm.
that's where there's more raw land in Austin. Example, Velocity Crossing, close to Tesla.
Hmm.
HEB's building there. There's a ton of construction going on there. And then northeast, we're looking at Amazon just finished building their storage facility, huge storage facility. Then a Samsung is coming in Tyler.
Hmm.
That's further out than east of I-35, but it's just several examples. Samsung's already east of I-35.
Hmm.
GM is east of I-35. Dell is east of I-35. So based on the conversations and the questions that I ask, usually it's guided to, oh, I want something that's potential to appreciate, a price based in Austin that's still a great price, and everything is relative. But great price is all relative.
Hmm.
In Austin, though, the median price is 555K in the city of Austin, and I've been finding things that are under that
Hmm.
east of I-35. So that's usually after the questions I ask where people go to, and they have great incentives. West of I-35 new builds, they're on the more expensive side. So it just depends what people want. But east of I-35 has been great, and
Hmm.
we've seen a lot of appreciation because of the many tech companies that have come through there, the many people that are moving there, and the fact that there's a lot of, I mean, just new suburbs, not new suburbs, but growing.
Hmm.
Kyle,
Yeah.
Buda, Bastrop, Pflugerville.
Hmm.
which before Pflugerville was far, and now it's a close suburb.
Yeah. And I like a lot of what you said too is, hey, there's the potential to appreciate of these lower priced homes. And really what I've always told people was follow the affordability, because if it's affordable, the prices are going to go up faster because more people can buy them, hence more demand. And that's worked really well for me. It's just saying, hey, where's affordable right now? But if I can get past the, hey, this isn't just the absolute perfect location, it doesn't have everything I need, like we mentioned earlier, in a few years it probably will. So if you're going to live there for 3 or 4 years, who cares? That HEB or that Costco is going to be there, and
Exactly.
your
It's
house
the
is going to
path
be worth a lot more.
path of progress. In Austin, if you see raw land, what does that typically mean? I ask clients that, what do you think it means? Isn't it a great opportunity? What do you think raw land means close to Austin?
Hmm.
They usually know the answer to that. So it's all about asking the right questions. And then one thing as well that has been pretty interesting, with a new build, you go out under contract maybe with 1,000 or $3,000 deposit. While
Mhm.
under contract, it might take 7 months. If you find
Mm.
a resale that you like, worst case, you lose those 3K, but you can get the resale under contract and maybe you get all closing costs. So it's worth losing those 3K because you're getting potentially a better deal. So I've had 3 or 4 clients in the past year go off contract because while under contract for the new build, we got under contract for a resale, we closed and got a better deal. I got them a better
Mhm.
deal. And then they're like, okay, once we've closed, now the new build doesn't make sense. But it wasn't until we closed that we canceled the new build. And I'd fight to try to get the deposit back, but typically you can't.
Mhm.
There's just an example of how the market has changed. I mean, look, you go under contract for a new build. If you find something that you like more, know that the only thing you lose is your deposit. But hey,
Mhm.
if I can negotiate a better price or something better, then it makes sense, right? And that's what I've done as well. Now there's more opportunity.
Yeah, I really like that, because a lot of people get really caught up and, oh, what if this isn't the perfect house? And like you just mentioned there, if you make the offer and you get the deposit accepted and the property under contract for $1,000, that's essentially free reign to go out and look at as many houses as you want, make as many offers as you want, and be more aggressive to get that perfect house. And yeah, maybe you get the perfect house, you get the perfect deal on the perfect house, but even if you had not have gotten that perfect house, you still had a new build that was going to close in 7 months.
Exactly. You already have
Strategy.
that. And people are like, okay, at least I have this new build.
Mm-hmm.
One thing actually that was pretty funny. A lot of people think that the new build prices is like set in stone. I've actually sent offers to builders. Like my clients are like, you know what, this house is at 440. We want it for 410.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done that and we've gotten offers either accepted or adjusted. But know that you can send offers now to builders. A lot of people think it's set in stone. No, it isn't.
Yeah,
Now with houses on the market longer, you can send offers to new builds as well.
love it. Yeah, and I think what Andres and I were both very active agents here in Austin. We're seeing the same thing. The market is kind of shifted, but it's shifted a lot more for new build properties, and you have a lot more opportunity there.
Oh yeah.
So Andres, you know, you've come a long way even since I've known you, and you're still
Yeah.
very young, and you've been moving really quickly. But what's next for you? What are your long-term goals, and what's your vision for your real estate career?
Long-term goals have been changing. It's been adjusting. I was originally saying commercial real estate. That still excites me.
Hmm.
Not like, oh my gosh, crazy, crazy, but I do want to get my hands on some commercial properties, and I have some partners that have been helping me with that, with storage facilities or retail.
Hmm.
That's one thing I've been looking into. The thing that excites me a lot though is sticking with my real estate, helping people invest and buy real estate and sell,
Hmm.
while also doing public speaking and helping athletes, top athletes. I've helped some of the Austin FC players get properties. Top athletes understand the difference between being rich and wealthy, wealth building. And I've given some talks to like real estate agents and some UT Austin students. That gets me very excited. Like I hired a public speaking coach, and I really see myself in the next 3, 5 years being a public speaker that helps athletes kind of like just manage that understanding. Dude, because so many athletes, which is so sad, once they retire, they go broke. That income is not coming as it was before. Now it's different. And the fact that there's so many liabilities, nice cars, nice house, and it's like, oh shit, the money isn't coming anymore. That's just so important. And through helping some of the Austin FC players and then just some of the UT Austin students, as you know, Jordan, the mindset is so different. And the people we surround ourselves with, like GoBundance people, they're such a different mindset. And it's a different understanding that unfortunately not a lot of people know of. Like you don't have to work for someone the rest of your life, 8 to 5. I want people to understand that. I want people to understand you can build a legacy. I want people to understand the wealth building. So that gets me excited. Real estate agent and public speaking is what gets me most excited. And that's my plan.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I know you were even speaking to real estate agents in London when you're on vacation.
Yeah, that was so funny. Yeah, I know some of the real estate agents in London, KW, and I got to give them a presentation. It was sick. And then we went out after, super cool people. I had such a great time.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, speaking of that, Andres, talk about motivating people and changing your mindset. Do you have a favorite mindset book that you like to recommend to people?
I love The Four Agreements.
Mm,
Such a great book by Don Miguel. I forgot his last name, but essentially he talks about don't make assumptions, don't take things personally, always do your best and be impeccable with your word. Those are the four agreements. Impeccable with your word whenever you talk to yourself. How do you talk to yourself? We have so many negative things we tell ourselves on a daily basis. Don't make assumptions. For example, we're talking to someone and they look away. People probably assume that maybe they're not interested. What if they just looked away because they heard something? Like we make so many assumptions. Don't take things personally. People might be having a bad day and maybe they see something negative and think it's about you. No, it's about themselves.
hmm
And then always do your best. Why wouldn't you do your best? I mean, and your best always changes depending on the circumstances. And for example, I broke my shin, so my best might be different today than it was like 3 months ago. So that book
Nice.
is great. Also, The Untethered Soul. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you've read it or not, Jordan, but
I've not.
Untethered Soul, I think it's Michael Slater or Slatter. Oh, such a good book. It's kind of confusing, but it's like a book about becoming present in the moment. I really, really love that book.
I believe I have it. I order so many books that I just can't keep
Yeah,
up with
dude,
them.
same. It's the same thing. I hear about one and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it's like, oh, so this is the 10th book on my list now.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I really like what you talk about with the negative self-talk there. I think that can be so destructive because none of us is better than anyone else. Like we all essentially have the same capabilities, but some of us just believe we can do so much more. And Andres mentioned it, you know, we're both part of a mastermind called GoBundance, and we surround ourselves with lots of high performers. Andres, that's like he mentioned earlier in the podcast, that's how he got started real estate investing. He said, I see all these successful people that are above me right now and they're doing this, so maybe I should do that. But if he had negative self-talk, he might say, hey, I can't do that. But having that positive self-talk and just being nice to yourself is so important, and it can help you
100%.
so much. So
Big
remember,
thing,
you're
like,
not perfect, and be nice to yourself.
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely not perfect because a lot of people think it's like, I have to be the perfect version. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Realize that, like a new build, it's never going to be perfect.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then also, I know you have a morning routine because we see each other at the gym all the time.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Having time for yourself in the morning, you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. It's a big misconception. You can wake up at 6, but at least do things for yourself
Mm-hmm.
before you start your workday. Because if you start your workday right away, the worst thing you can do, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't set time for yourself and you're not going to be in a good mood.
Yeah, talk about having positive self-talk. It's a lot easier when you've got that solid morning routine that puts you in a
Yeah,
good state of mind to take on the day.
game changer.
Yeah, I love that too. Big fan of the Miracle Morning.
Yes.
So, Andres, what's the best way for people to get hold of you?
Through either TikTok or Instagram, it's Andres Busta TX. ANDRESBUSTATX.
Okay, and we'll absolutely put that in the show notes for everyone. And
Thanks, bro.
most important question we ask here today, Andres, what is your favorite restaurant in Austin?
Let's go. I'm gonna have to pick two.
Two.
Loro, incredible. Korean fusion barbecue. Oh,
Hmm.
so good. Loro, and then Terry Black's by far. Like if I ever have a client or a friend that's new to Austin,
Hmm.
that's the first place I'll take them to. For me, that's the best barbecue in town. I love it. And it's so close to downtown. Usually we get barbecue and then we go like on scooters around downtown. It's such a good time.
Yeah, no, great
Love it.
location. Definitely, I like to park not in their parking lot, and that
Oh
makes the whole
yeah.
experience a lot easier.
Oh, parking is like, yeah, it's a battle.
If you
Definitely.
go, don't tell anybody, if you go up and take a left at that El Alma stoplight right there and just go up the hill, there's
That's
always
yeah,
parking up there.
that's where I go.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
It's our secret.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on here today, Andres. Again, follow Andres on Instagram and TikTok at Andres Busta TX. Follow me at Jordan_Moorhead. I am not on TikTok, unfortunately. I might have a TikTok, but follow us both on
You should.
Instagram and check us both out on TikTok when you get a chance. Somebody let me know if I'm posting on TikTok right now. I'm sure it's great if I am.
You should start to do it, bro.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Thank you so much for coming on, and we will talk to you here soon.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, take it easy.